Republican Senator Rob Portman, to that point, to John's point about bipartisan support for the MiG transfer, why is that not happening? The president didn't seem to answer questions on that. Zelenskyy certainly turned up the pressure on President Biden when he addressed Congress this morning. I just wonder if he changed any minds or influenced the president on his thinking on that item.
I thought Zelenskyy gave a powerful presentation as to why he needs help to be able to have, if not a no-fly zone, a virtual no-fly zone, by giving him the military means to do so. And one thing he talked about was these planes, and I think it's something we should have done a long time ago. In fact, you recall the State Department at one point said it had a green light, and then suddenly it didn't. We should have just sent it quietly, gotten those planes in there. Ukrainian pilots, it is not escalatory in my view. Second, though, you remember that President Zelenskyy also talked about anti-aircraft. In fact, he specifically mentioned the S-300. There are a number of these systems all around the former Warsaw Pact countries in Eastern Europe, Central Europe, that could be very helpful here. And in the presidential release I saw just a minute ago that just went out, there was a hint that we are finally making progress in doing just that, facilitating the transfer of these weapon systems they can use and replenishing the existing weapon systems that they have to be able to push back against these cruise missiles, the artillery, the bombardments that the poor people of Ukraine are facing every night.
You know, Senator, the president left that a little bit vague. He said that he and other NATO nations would help Zelenskyy acquire some more longer-range surface-to-air systems than they have now, or that the U.S. was going to supply, which I thought was an allusion to the S-300 units that Zelenskyy really wants. But let me come back to these MiGs, because I know that you just got back from Poland not long ago, and I'm curious about this. Poland was adamant that it was not going to send the MiGs directly to Ukraine. And then it turned around and he said, look, we'll send them to Ramstein Air Base. We'll give them to the United States. The United States can send them in. And I'm wondering, was that a sincere offer, or was that Poland knowing that the United States wouldn't do that? And so Poland was going to get a pass on washing its hands of the MiGs, all the time knowing that they'd never make it to Ukraine.
John, I think it was a very sincere offer. In fact, the offer came initially from the Poles. So we did not initiate this. The Poles did. They raised it as an idea where, you know, we could help facilitate it by helping them to backfill the need they would have to have additional aircraft, and particularly F-16s, which is in our interest too. You know, we want the Poles to have more F-16s because that's helped them to defend their own border. So it was a win for Ukraine, a win for Poland, and a win for us in terms of helping these borderline states to be able to better defend themselves. So it was their idea. And I think they would love to go through with it, but they are concerned about doing it alone. So they'd like it to be something where the U.S. is involved in helping to facilitate it. And I also think, you know, this is something that the Ukrainians have thought about a lot, and they need them and they want them and they can use them, because some of our military experts say, well, they really can't use them. Well, you know, I trust the Ukrainians, given what they're undergoing right now to make that decision.
Speaking of which, here's their leader, Zelenskyy, addressing the U.S. Congress this morning. Some of it. Listen.
I'm addressing the President Biden. You are the leader of the nation, of your great nation. I wish you to be the leader of the world. Being the leader of the world means to be the leader of peace.
Well, President Biden responded publicly in his own words just a moment ago, calling Zelenskyy's message and his words convincing. So, Senator, I don't know, I guess, how do you think that message is going to go over? And do you believe any change will come from that?
I hope it will, Sandra. And where I see it happening is at this NATO meeting the president's about to attend in Europe. He needs to ensure that the other members of NATO understand that America will lead here. We will be the nation that leads in terms of peace. Peace means stopping the Russians from this carnage. Peace means ensuring that the Russian soldiers can't continue to target civilians and take innocent people's lives. So that's part of the message that I hope he'll take over there and feel a little more emboldened to do it, because Zelenskyy has established the United States as the leader of peace. Let's face it, we've got the most powerful army in the world. We've got the best economy in the world. We have the ability to lead here. And I think other countries will follow if we do. We've talked about some of the proactive things we should do to get these anti-aircraft systems in there, to get the planes in there, to rearm them so they can, you know, replenish their existing systems they have. We need better anti-tank, anti-ship weapons as well. I think we need to change the dynamic a little bit. I think, frankly, a lot of our military leadership and intelligence thought that this would be a 3 or 4 day war. You heard this on your own network a lot, Sandra. That's not what it's turned out to be. I think we were very good, and the intelligence services particularly, about predicting what the Russians would do. but we weren't as good about predicting what the Ukrainians would do. And the Ukrainians have stood fast, and they've been so brave and so effective at pushing back on the ground. What they do need is help in the air. They need to stop the bombardments. Vladimir Putin is not just destroying a country, he's destroying a people. I mean, this is almost like Ukrainian genocide now. And in terms of the war crimes issue that was raised earlier, of course these are war crimes. When you purposely target a maternity hospital, I mean, I don't see that there's any question there. And the Russian officials that are signing off on this and the Russian commanders on the ground who are signing off on this should start to disobey these orders,
can I just
because the
follow up
world's
on that
watching.
one thing? Because we heard from Senator Graham yesterday. He said that he fathoms that the reason why President Biden is not transferring those MiGs and not aiding in doing so is because he believes that, I think he said that Biden folded like a cheap suit when it came to that moment, and that Putin got in his ears and said, you do that, I will view that as escalation. Do you think that's the case? Do you agree with that? And I don't know, why do you fathom that we're not aiding and sending those in?
Well, I think it's a function of leadership. And again, I applaud the administration for what they have done, but they got to go further and they got to go faster. I don't think it was hearing from Vladimir Putin because they aren't talking. I don't think it was even a message from what I know. I don't think it was something where they said it would be escalatory. By the way, the Russians are escalating every day, aren't they?
Right.
Yeah.
I think it was much more that wanting to keep the coalition together, concern perhaps from some of the other coalition members. But you know what? Again, that cries out for leadership and to say, you know what? Poland's a sovereign country. Poland wants to do this. We're going to help facilitate it. We're going to get it done. And we're going to help Zelenskyy to be able to defend himself. By the way, these are not offensive weapons. The people in Ukraine have no offensive interest or capability. What they want to do is defend their country. So in terms of crossing a line, in terms of escalation, it's the Russians who are escalating constantly every day. The type of weapons they're using, their targets. I think that's not the reason. It's more trying to keep the coalition together, and that's good. On the other hand, you have to lead these coalitions, and I hope that's what President Biden will be able to do when he's over there meeting with the NATO allies.
You know, Senator, the Russians keep on denying that they're targeting civilians. They denied that they killed 10 people in a bread line in Chernihiv, whether it was with a shell or whether it was with small arms fire. They're denying that they bombed a theater in Mariupol when it clearly seems that that pictures of a theater that was once there is no longer there. But let me ask you, in terms of defensive weapons, the president said that he's going to give drones to Ukraine.
Yes.
When people think of drones, they think of the big Predators or the Reapers. These are things called Switchblades, which are about that big. And basically what they are is the same size as a medium-sized remote-controlled aircraft. They're basically a flying missile. They can linger around in the air and then go directly in the target. They cost $6,000. You can get 20 of them for the price of one Hellfire missile. You can carry them in a backpack. How effective do you think those will be?
Extremely effective, and I'm glad that he is doing that. That was, to me, the best news out of the entire press conference, in addition to being more proactive on getting the S-300s and other systems like the S-3s and the S-8s in there. But I think there aren't enough. So if you only have 100, and they're kamikaze, you remember, John, so they actually attack the target not by shooting at it, but by crashing into it.
Yeah.
So we need more. I mean, you see these Russian columns with all these armored vehicles and tanks. Those 100 could be gone like that. So I was really encouraged by that, I must say. And I hope that they will provide more and also look to other countries to help more. Israel, as an example, has drones that are on the commercial market. Turkey obviously has already been helpful, and they may be at their capacity in terms of production. But I think there's a few more to get out of Turkey as well. But I think that's a very positive development and will give the Ukrainians the ability, again, to defend themselves, give them a fighting chance.
Senator Portman, thank you very much for your time, sir.
Thanks,
Senator. Thank you, Senator.
Hey, John. Good to be on with you guys.